I'm only got one good eye, and I was concerned about that a second ago. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We are here as a council today. We are in the presence of our clerk, deputy clerk, and several other staff members. And we do have quorum in that we do have 3 members of council. We do have 2 members of council away. And for my benefit, I've asked Bruce to relocate to this side of the room, so I'm not having to turn back and forth as many times. Our first order of business is our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectfully acknowledges their resilience and their long-lasting contribution to the area now known as the Township of Hamilton. I understand we're deviating a little bit from our normal practice in that "O Canada" will be played at this point in time. And I would ask that everyone stand, please. Thank you, everyone. Just a note, we are receiving nominations for Senior of the Year. This is a item that's been taking place in Hamilton Township for a number of years. And the last 2 recipients have, I guess you would say, warmed our hearts when we were able to make the presentation in this council room. So if anyone either in the audience or listening to us on YouTube has a nomination, we would be pleased to receive. Thank you. Item 3 on our agenda. Is there any additions to our agenda? Seeing none, I'll go on to item 4, motion to confirm the agenda. It's recommended that Council of Corporation Township of Hamilton acts as follows: that the agenda for the council meeting held on March 18th, 2025 be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Larry, second by Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Seeing none, that will be recorded. Item 6, this is our public question period, and we do have several that would like to speak here today. Mrs. Lasika, please come forward to the, yes, please come forward, and we'll just confirm that that microphone's on, and please, your presentation.
Hi, I am Josie Lasika from 29 Forest Hill Drive, Coburg, Hamilton Township. My husband, Ed Lasika, he is 85 years old. He's a chemical engineer, worked in nuclear industry all his life. He saved Cameco. Government was going to close Cameco, because the uranium was leaking into the Lake Ontario. The whole team couldn't save Cameco. Vice President Tanaka asked my husband if he would just the one person stick with that and solve that problem. In 2 weeks, he was there night and days. In 2 weeks, he solved the problems. The government didn't close the Cameco. If Cameco was closed, this would be very poor area, much poorer than it's now. Now, amazing accomplishment for him. And he was the best engineer in two countries, in Slovakia and Czech Republic, the best engineer in 2 countries. He is very accomplished engineer. He is professional engineer even in 2 provinces in Canada. Not many people at that time were professional engineer when he was hired. He saved Cameco in 2 weeks. 85, now he's 85 years old, disabled. He had prostate cancer, probably from uranium. He has 3 strokes. He had 4 mini strokes. He had rupture artery in his abdomen. No one survived. The doctor said they didn't hear anyone that somebody would survive. He did. And he had 2 grand moles. He's on medications. He's okay now. He can walk only with walker and with me because he can fall down constantly. His brain is damaged partially. His judgment, he knows he can't walk, but he can help it. He wants to walk. He wants to be driver of the car and everything. And he's severely disabled. I can leave him alone. Now I have hired somebody to stay with him so I can come here. Unfortunately, I'm 78 years old. I care for my husband 24/7. I'm saving government a lot of money. Because for many years I care for him, I have sore back. Because of this, I have to help him all the time. My legs are not stable anymore. I fell 3 times in last 3 months, and it's very serious. I called Lucas and explained the situation, that they removed the snow, which I understand, they have to do it, but we live on the curve, and the more snow was dumped on my driveway. It was that much snow. There was PSW, personal support worker, in our house. She was going out and she was stuck. She didn't get even farther. Okay, they removed the street and dumped it into our driveway. PSW was in our driveway for 2.5 hours, sitting in her car, stuck. And she was supposed to go and help as a personal support worker another 3 families. She couldn't do it. I called and I explained the situation, that and she has to call somebody, and somebody came and she has to pay $210 because she was in my house, stuck with the snow. I felt horrible, I feel she should get some money. Now, later again, they dumped more snow, and another, after I told Lucas Kelly, and they dumped more snow. When I talked to Lucas, he was very arrogant, very rude, didn't listen what I have to say. He was interrupting me. I couldn't present my whole situation. I couldn't because he was interrupting me. I asked him not to interrupt me. He stopped for 1 minute and interrupted again, repeating the same thing over and over. That was very, very discouraging for me. That communication went very, very well. So I called chief of Hamilton Township, that would be maybe you, Mr. Anderson, and you were nice and polite, you listened, and you said you will call to Lucas. And Lucas didn't call me back. So I called you back again, unfortunately. Again, you said you will talk to him. Nothing changed. We were snowed more and more and more. Here we are, two disabled people. Nobody called me back that things will improve. I was calling and calling and calling. The 6 people I talked to, and by that time he was healthy. I would clean that driveway if I could. Plus, I had operation, surgery. I couldn't even go out when I was healthy at that time. Unfortunately, too much snow came. And then a second time, at least, Lucas told me you don't have any plan for retired or disabled people. 2 years before this year, I called, and I think that was Daphne at that time, very kind, very human being. And she listened, and she said, in few minutes, we will be there. They were. 2 people came in 20 minutes with shovels, and they fixed it, and it was perfect. That wasn't as bad situation as this one. This was one life and death situation for me. If I would go outside and fell down, I wouldn't be, there was so much snow, I wouldn't be able to get up. I would freeze to death there. That's life and death situation. For my husband, another death and life situation. Paramedics comes to our house very often, because he's falling down and he wants to stay home. He will build a beautiful home and he wants to stay there, and I'm supporting him 100%. And he said, if he would give me help, everyone else would ask for help. No. On Forest Hill Drive, there are maybe close to 15 people around there. They helped me. Nobody complained that they didn't know even who those 2 people were helping me. So that was totally inappropriate comment. If he helped me, everyone would help. The other people, we are all retired mostly, and they can go and clean their driveway. They do. And he told me, ask your neighbor. Actually, before he told me, I asked the neighbor to come the year before, and he came, the neighbor, and he finished that hardly little bit, not all. And he said, please don't call me back. I have heart problems. Heartbreaking. He could die on my driveway, and he gave me that suggestion. I'm not paying taxes to my neighbor. I'm paying taxes here. And if I need help, 29 years I'm paying taxes. Last year I paid 13,000. We don't have electricity, we don't have street lights, we don't have water, we don't have septic, we have nothing from you, nothing. In 29 years, and I need help, life and death situation. Can you imagine that one day you will be old? Lucas will be old, and you will see how it feels like when you accomplish so much. And my husband was crying when I was upset. He doesn't need to cry for that. This is the best country in the world. Is this? I have a big question about that. Our children would help us very much so, but our daughter, she's a psychiatrist. She's working 150% every week, because so many people are sick in those days. I told her, don't work so hard. Mommy, my people would die. She can't come and counsel those people. And I'm not expecting her to do that. I'm a human being. I used to be a teacher. I was the best teacher in Northumberland County, Clarington County, Peterborough County, the best teacher in grade 3 when government started to test grade 3 students. And here I am, I'm older. When I retired, I had diamond watch because of my achievement. And here I am. This is very sad situation that I had to be here. And I was hoping that somebody told me that you, Mr. Anderson, will call me. And I said I would prefer to just to talk to here and solve the problem so I don't have to come here. Unfortunately, I had to come. When my son, he's an engineer. He's working in high school. He is head of math department. I can't ask him when there is snowy highway, that much snow, that he can come and help me. I'm helpless. I need help. And this is not right that you only once I need that kind of help. Maybe next year I will improve. I don't know. Maybe I was hoping that next year I have so snowblower that I can do it just one driveway. We have a circle driveway, and I will just do one driveway towards my garage. This community needs a plan for disabled people. Whole Coburg, I called everyone in August to come and help me in wintertime. Nobody, only 2 people answered, and they said they can't come because they are fully booked. This is a community of retired people. They couldn't come. My daughter she's psychiatrist, she took her time and she called in September again. Please help my mom. And nobody even answered. No, at that time, nobody even answered. I am paying 13,000 taxes every year. And you don't have enough for 2 people to come and help me to clean the driveway. If I'm not able to it, and I can, even if I was able to, I can, because my husband can stay alone. He would walk and he would fell down. He can fall down and broke his neck or whatever. And that would be even more expensive for government. This is not acceptable to me, that you in the best country in the world, that you treat people like that. And
Mrs. Lasika,
yes,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we've gone beyond the time that we normally allot to speakers.
okay, I'm finished.
We've got a lot of information from you, and I think there's a full understanding from
Thank you.
people in the room. Not only do we have council, but we have staff here. Mrs. Lasika, if I could ask one question, who has been cleaning your driveway? Have you been doing it yourselves in years past?
No, then my daughter called her friend and she said that her mother went into nursing home and how the space came up this last few weeks.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm following that, Mrs. Lasica. My question is, who has cleared your driveway in previous years?
Nobody,
You've done it yourself.
exactly.
Okay,
I am not able to do it anymore.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Lasica. Just for clarity, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, other than we got a full agenda today.
I'm done
Wait.
almost
We've
done.
got your understanding, we've got your request, we've got your information. What we would normally do is have a discussion outside of this meeting and get back to you with as much information as we can source out and work with every ratepayer to give the best solution possible.
Sorry, I had a booster and I lost hearing on one ear. So,
Okay, I'll shorten my statement.
yeah,
We'll discuss
okay,
here
yeah,
at a later time with our staff, and we'll get back to you with some suggestions
Yeah.
and some solution.
yeah. I have just two sentences to say.
Please,
I
please.
found homeless person in Coburg. My husband said, take him home. We have furnished basement. He can be there. I didn't realize that he was heart problems, pulmonary problems, and I have to cook for him 2 years. I have to clean up for him. I have to take him to hospital. I have to take my fruits and take him something. He had no friends, no relatives, just me. And he was very thankful when he was dying. For 2 years, highly accomplished for humanity, for human people, for society. And here we are, here I am in my tears for this meeting. It shouldn't happen in this country. I am very happy in this country. I appreciate it very much. And I am not nationalist and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And like I say, we have heard your comments. We have heard your request. I think everyone in this room understands, and we will get back to you with some suggestions. Okay, so thank you for your presentation, Mrs. Lasica.
How soon I will know?
Well, I'm going to suggest a month.
A month?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, why I'm saying that long is I don't think there's going to be any more snow issues in the next
Exactly.
month.
Exactly.
And if there is, just wait for 24 hours, it'll be gone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to commit to you for a month. If we haven't got any suggestions in a month, we will contact you and say, we're still working on it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay,
So
good.
we'll be back to you within a month.
And I'm telling you, I won't finish here because this is not right that the people who work so hard the whole life and have to beg for help. This is disgrace for me. And I won't finish here. I even will call TV to come. My PSWs are very upset. They lost wages because they couldn't get up. And I couldn't get help here. That's very, very unfair. And if I'm going to contact Ministry of Toronto in Toronto. And if I don't get help in ministry in Toronto, I will contact European Union Hague for human rights. They should know that this is the best country in the whole world and this is not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lasica. Say we'll get back to you one way or the other in the next month. Do we have questions? Okay, thanks, Larry. We have other people wishing to make presentations here today. The next person that I'll call up, who I can't even get eye contact with at the moment, is Steve Shaw. Steve, would you like to come up to the podium, please? And I should have said it before, Steve, for the record, state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Steve Shaw. I live at 7887 Dale Road. Very familiar with it, I'm sure. We've talked about it before. Thank you Mayor Jib and members of council for giving me a few minutes to address you. I have a couple of questions or concerns related to the broadband initiative that is part of the agenda. As you know, broadband and access to broadband is an increasingly essential service in this digital world that we have. Currently along Dale Road, and I speak for a few of my neighbors who I've had conversations with, our internet access leaves much to be desired. Where we are, we're sort of in a bit of a dip, and even the over the air stuff that we were able to get is not really sufficient. Just as an aside, the Leafs were on Prime last night, and it streamed, and trying to watch it, it was just like a little blurry all the time, and really disappointed when they had such a good game. We would like to have better internet connection, and so we were very excited when we saw this initiative. Last year we saw some work being done along Dale Road. There was Nexacom started laying fiber optics. They went a little bit west on Dale Road to Dale Road Public School. They went a little bit to the east along Dale Road, but not very far. And then they seemed to go straight north along Burnham and laid fiber optic piping anyway. I'm not sure if there's actual fiber optic in it, but I know they put the orange cabling all the way through. But then they packed up their bags and they left Dale Road. And so we were kind of disappointed because we assumed that, they've got things mobilized and that they're going to start moving along east and west along Dale Road, which is a fairly major thoroughfare in this municipality. So my question really is, I have two. The first one is Nexacom part and parcel of this initiative, or is this another initiative? And I'm not sure who I addressed the question to. I'll address it to you, Mayor Jib.
I have an answer to that. I'm thinking maybe our CAO also has an answer for that. And hopefully our two thoughts are the same, Arthur. Feel free.
Sure, through you, Mayor Jib. Nexacom is not part of this initiative, but they are a high-speed internet supplier that is installing cabling across various locations in the township. But it is separate from the exercise occurring presently that we're promoting in today's agenda.
Okay. So that leads me to another, question. Since they're not part of this project, does that mean that the areas that they have already laid fiber optic will not be part of this, and the residents in those areas will have a different service provider / initiative than what's being proposed in the document?
I'll carry on through that if I may. So just if I can refer to one note, and that is this initiative is going to serve approximately 11,000 unserved or underserved, both businesses and residences in the county over the course of the next couple of years. And it represents a combined investment of over $64 million, include from the province and the federal government, with 700,000 from Northumberland. The coordination is occurring with, it's being built by Axel Telecommunications, a Canadian-owned company, and they're working with their suppliers. They will be expanding their network, and they provided us maps on the areas they will be covering. The specific location you've talked about, I'd have to check on the maps whether that will then be part of this Axel initiative with Northumberland, or whether that whether any other service provider will be extending, like Nexacom or others, in that area. Because it's not limited to these two or three. It's still a competitive market, and Cogeco or Bell or others have installations in our township as well.
Okay. Thank you for that. So that leads me, I guess, to my final question is, you talk about 11,000 homes and businesses within the county being part of this initiative. I guess I'm looking for assurances that every single home in the county is going to be covered by this initiative ultimately, because your statement, I'd have to look to see whether your home is within the initiative, leaves me kind of concerned that perhaps there will be areas that, even though they're underserved, will still not be served because, for whatever reason, maybe it's not financially feasible or whatever. And I just don't think we should be setting up a system where some parts of the county are served well and other parts aren't. And, you know, I go back to the previous speaker where she talks about, you know, you pay property taxes and, you know, some parts of this county have water and sewer and sidewalks and lights, and others like where I live, we don't have any of those things, but we still pay the same relative tax rate. So I want to make sure that all residents in this county are being served well. And I hope that that's something that you could perhaps bring back to the organizers of this, that, you know, there are lots of areas that are underserved, and we really should be looking at how we can serve those communities.
I think it's my turn to bounce in a
Sure.
bit, Arthur. The objective, and I'm going to suggest that there will need to be a follow-up objective, but today's objective is initiated by the county, and it is to provide high-speed internet to everyone. However, realistically, I'm going to suggest that that's not going to take place in 2025 as they have advertised. The physical restraints, the time restraints, the weather restraints are going to be there to deal with. But I do enjoy the objective and that they stay with that objective. But I think you'll see it take a little longer than 2025. Just, Steve, for a little bit of clarity, and it's not necessarily for you, Steve, but maybe for the people listening on our YouTube. We have no one in Hamilton Township that has sewers. We do have special area charges for streetlights, and we have specific water bills for the users. The majority of our municipality does not have water and does not have sidewalks or streetlights. And where we do have them, they're special area charges. Where we find our tax dollars going to is the services that we do provide: snow plowing, police, fire, those types of services. And I know you are aware of that, and you have a history of a municipal life. So you are more than aware of that. And my clarity on that is for our viewers. It's not in the audience with us. Thank you, Steve. Any follow-up?
No, thank you for your time. I, as you said, I'm quite happy to pay my taxes for fire and police and all those other services. You know, a community only exists because we come together and we put our heads together and we decide what's important and what's good for us. And I have no qualms about paying for those kinds of things. So I do appreciate all of those and have used some of those services in the past. So I do appreciate it. I have no other questions.
Do you have a budget or comment?
I just have a comment that, as I understood it, that this is a federal program, that it was to be, internet service. Communication. I would ask staff to check, clarify with Nexicon and also the provider to establish what areas they're going to service. Because I understand, Mr. Shaw, the problem is that with that internet service providers are providing us with internet, Nexicon, or this. But let's, here's a point that Shaw suggested, is that Nexicon cut off just, maybe miles from his home. Have they got plans to extend that? We've already approved the ability for these companies to come through and the latest on their cable. So maybe we just need to confirm whether Nexicon has plans to extend and whether XL, where are they going to be putting this stuff? Because I understood this was a federal initiative. This, the Eastern Wardens issue also. And that was the idea, to have everybody connected. Yeah, it was essential for communities to have this kind of service, regardless of the services we provide for the municipality. So I think staff should go back and check out with Nexicon and XL to see what their plans are.
I would,
It's beyond our municipal tax base. It's our federal tax base. It has nothing to do with us. It's a municipality. This is a federal issue.
I'd like to piggyback on that ever so slightly. There is mapping. I'm sure it's changing as the process goes through, But is there any opportunity that we could share the most up-to-date mapping that's available in some of our processes, whether it be on our web page or any of those things, or even here at the office, so that we're sharing the most up-to-date information that we can. Personally, I've not seen a map. So maybe that's something that we could look at, is sharing that information, albeit I will suggest it's going to be changing, but share what we have.
I can, through you, Mayor. Jevon, to address comments that Deputy Mayor Williamson mentioned. There is a map that we've received. The update I have received is only about 7 days old. And so what you're getting is sort of current information that we have, but we'll make that map available. I know it will evolve depending upon their schedule. I didn't want to reference your specific property because if I got it wrong, I wouldn't be getting you the correct information, which is why I referenced a map and your location. However, we'll provide the most up-to-date information we have, the mapping, the phasing of when they're starting. Apparently they started this week in Bewdley, and there's various teams across the county working to provide this service on behalf of the initiative. So we'll get the up-to-date maps. We'll see if we can provide any information from NextCon. There's a private company, but they'd want to make sure their service information is out and available to residents as well. So we'll see if we can provide that to you and to others more broadly on our website as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. We have one more presentation, and that's from Mr. Drew Mackland. And I don't know Mr. Lang, but based on appearance, of himself in relationship to a family member being his grandfather that I knew, I assume this is Mr. Lang beside you, Mr. Mackland. Welcome, gentlemen. And Drew, I invite you to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor Jib. You would be correct. That is Mr. Paul Lang here in attendance today. Here just last month, we had a zoning bylaw application for Mr. Lang's property at 1577 McEwen Road that got denied. I'm here, I guess, today requesting it be reconsidered based on the concerns that were brought up in terms of uses for it. And there's some water problems in the area, and traffic was also another concern. I think those can all be addressed, and if it can be reconsidered, we could do that at that time. The land was given provisional consent for lot creation. The land is zoned or designated for development, so the neighbors, living there would know either when they moved there or having lived there when it got zoned for that type of development, that it was going to be used for that. The Langs actually do live on this property, so they are sensitive to the way it is developed as well. And we've been speaking with hydrogeologists and well drillers. They're recommending that dug wells work very well in that situation. There's ample water in the soil. It's very close to Lake Ontario. The challenge is the soil itself has a very high percentage of clay. So if you're using up the water faster than the soil can resaturate around your well, then that's when they run out. So having spoken with, again, the hydrogeologist and the well driller, there's two recommendations for those situations. There's flow control devices that can be put in place. And they also recommend storage tanks so that if it's only coming out of the ground at a certain rate, it can continue to fill that storage tank. So if you're using it at a higher rate, it will continue to supply the area with water. And then traffic, if we can scope the uses down from the ones that there are concerns, we have done traffic report and sightline assessments by engineers that show support for the entrances. The permitted uses that I think people would be comfortable with: commercial self-storage, agricultural equipment supplies and repair, butcher shop, contractor's yard, craft shop, farm, lawn, garden supply and equipment dealership, and a merchandising shop. So that eliminates about half of the original list from the commercial rural items, and I think those would use minimal water or comparable to a house, maybe less, and then traffic relatively light on traffic as well. So, and keep in mind in the reconsideration, it's just to put a holding provision. There's no development proposed at this point. The holding provision is to be created so that it's site plan and user specific. So once we determine the user, then those studies and reports can be provided to address any concerns. Any questions?
If there is a motion to reconsider, it will be not at this point in time under this agenda item, but will rather be done under item 11, which is business arising from previous minutes. So I'll turn to my fellow council members. Do we have any questions for Mr. Lang? Bruce?
Just one. I know one of the major concerns that we were hearing at that meeting was about water. And there appeared to be that there should be a hydrogeological report that would come. Has that been done, Drew? Do you know, like, is that available? Or was that part of what you already suggested? Like it seemed to me that that was a major concern and that nothing could be done without that hydrogeological. I don't know that we've ever seen that. I just
Right.
wondered what stage that's at.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Jib, we reached out to hydrogeologists and they said, well, what use is going on the property? And we said, we don't know that yet. And they said, well, we can't really do a study based on, we don't know what we're trying to assess in terms of usage. So that's why the recommendation is let's figure out, I mean, we've had potential buyers for the property and still do have one. We've missed a couple because it's not ready to be used yet. But one is still for commercial self-storage and they're hanging in there. So that would be one that would use next to, very little or no water. And one of the other ones was a contractor's yard, but they found other property that was more readily available. So until we know the user, it's very difficult for the hydrogeologist to do their work.
Thank you.
Could I follow up on that, Bruce, just a little bit? Now, I'll turn to our staff. If I remember correctly, a hydrogeologist report was required as a condition of the applications, and that hydrogeologist report would be submitted prior to building permit issuance. Am I correct or incorrect in that thought, Jennifer?
Through you, Mayor Jim. You are partially correct there, mostly correct. I would love that.
Through you, Mayor Jib, the recommendation at the time the zoning bylaw was considered was a holding provision and the holding provision could not be removed until such time as a site plan was entered into. In the site plan, during the site plan process, they would be required to submit the technical documents such as a hydrogeology study, a traffic study, functional servicing, stormwater, that sort of thing. So the hydrogeology study would have to be done before a building could be constructed. That is correct.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? Very well. Thank you, Mr. Macklin and Mr. Lang. As I said earlier, this request consideration will be dealt with later on in our agenda, which isn't too far away, time-wise. Okay. Moving on to item 8 on our agenda, public hearings and meetings. And I have a prepared motion to move into a public meeting, which reads, is recommended the Council of the Corporation of Township of Hamilton enacts as follows. The council move into a public meeting under section 34 of the Planning Act at 1:45 PM on March the 18th, 2025. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Bruce, second by Larry. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 8.2 on our agenda. Source protection and rural consent policy, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment. Prepared motion is that council receives report PLN 2025-06 for information and discussion, and that the written and oral public comments be received for review, and that bylaws implementing the official plan policies and zone regulations be brought forward to the April 15th, 2025 council meeting for approval. Can I have a motion, please, to get this on the floor? Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Questions from council? Jennifer, do you have presentation components that you would like to certainly add to this? All right. Just trying to save some time here, Jennifer.
I'll give you a very, very brief overview of the proposed amendments. The proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, the main purpose is to implement the policies contained in the Ganaraska Source Protection Plan. Our planning documents haven't been updated to include those policies. So these policies will implement the Source Protection Plan. And I could go into the history of it, but the Source Protection Plan came into effect about 10 years ago. And it's the municipality's responsibility to update our planning documents to contain those provisions. So we undertook a agency review of the and the purpose of the source protection plans, is to protect the municipal drinking water supplies. We have two in the municipality, the Creighton Heights system, which services Baltimore, and the system in Camborne, which is a small system. And there's wellhead protection areas that have been identified under the Ganaraska Source Protection Plan that protect those community water sources. So the source protection policies are outlined in the report, but the intent of the policies is to ensure the safety of those drinking water supplies. And that's required by the Ontario Clean Water Act and the Ganaraska Source Protection Plan. The official plan amendment will also include policies clarifying that the maximum number of severances permitted from a rural property is 3, and that is 3 severances regardless of the type of severance. So that would include both farm and residential severances. Before, the official plan specified that a maximum of 3 residential severances were permitted, and there was no limit or number associated with farm severances. So the proposed wording will limit the total number of severances from a property in the rural designation to a maximum of 3 as the property existed on October 21st, 2003. The amendments underwent an agency circulation. We received comments from Northumberland County requesting a few wording changes to some of the source protection policies. And other than that, there were no other issues. The Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority wanted some wording added regarding the construction of new transport pathways in source protection areas, and those comments were incorporated into the draft amendment. Public notice was taken in accordance with official plan amendment number 13, our alternative notice provisions, on February 25th, and a copy of the public notice was posted at the township office, the Gores Landing Library, the Bewdley Library, and was posted on the township's website and social media sites. A copy of the public notice was also sent to those individuals on the registered on the township's planning notification portal. No public comments had been received at the time the report was issued. However, I did receive one phone call yesterday from somebody just inquiring about the purpose of the official plan amendment, and they seemed content with the explanation that I gave them regarding the consent policies and the source protection policies.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'll go again to that question that I was at earlier. Any questions or comments for Jennifer? Okay, thank you, Jennifer. We'll okay. Just turning to the audience and, is there anyone here in support of the process of the application? Or in opposition, or seeking clarification even? We're making an agenda package work here. There's no one with us, Daphne, that has comments. Okay, so we'll move on. What's that?
There's a motion on the floor.
It is recommended council, the Corporation of Township of Hamilton acts as follows. The council receives report PLN 2025-06 for information and discussion, that the written and oral public comments be received for review, and that bylaws implementing the official plan policies and zone regulations be brought forward to the April 15th, 2025 council meeting for approval. I think I've done that before. Mover and a seconder, Bruce. Now we need to vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. Next item, 8.3, motion to rise from a public meeting and reconvene to regular council meeting is recommended. Council Corporation Township of Hamilton and acts as follows. The council rise from a public meeting under section 34 of the Planning Act and reconvene to a regular meeting of council at 1:52 PM on March 18th, 2025. Mover and the seconder, Bruce, Larry. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. No planning bylaws today. Adoption of previous council and committee of the whole meeting minutes. It is recommended the council, this is 10.1 on our agenda, is recommended council Corporation Township of Hamilton and acts as follows, that the minutes of the February 18th, 2025 council meeting be adopted. Mover and a seconder, moved by Bruce, second by Larry. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 11, business arising from the previous minutes. This is where I previously referenced the opportunity, if so desired, to bring forward a motion for reconsideration. So is there any items under 11 on our agenda? Business arising from previous minutes. Bruce.
Dear Mayor Jib, under the consideration of having new information brought forward to us, that I think we should reconsider. I would move that we bring the zoning bylaw that was before us and turned down last month back onto the table, that I understand would be discussed at our April council meeting.
Thank you, Bruce. Is there a seconder to the motion? Moved by Bruce, seconded by Larry. Any further questions or comments? Do we need to add a little detail to that information in that it was item 9.1 on the February 18th, 2025, being bylaw 2025-08? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 12. Prepared motion reads that agenda items 12.2 to 12.5 of the March 18th, 2025 council meeting agenda be received for information. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Nothing under Public Works and Infrastructure, nothing under Recs and Facilities, nothing, Corporate Services. 15.1 on our agenda. Reappointment of Integrity Commissioner. Prepared motion reads that council receives report CD 2025-02. Reappointment of Integrity Commissioner for information, and that bylaw 2025-16 be brought forward to reappoint John Mascarin, partner, Aird Bearless, as Integrity Commissioner and authorize execution of a contract for service for a term ending July 31st of 2027. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. 15.2, procurement policy. And we do have staff here if we have questions on this. Prepared motion reads that it's recommended Council of Corporation Township of Hamilton acts as follows. The council receives report T 2025-03 procurement policy, and the council approves the procurement policy as submitted, and the council approves the procurement bylaw. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. 15.3, municipal restructuring study. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Hamilton. It acts as follows. The council receives report CAO 2025-3, Northumberland County Municipal Restructuring Study, and the council directs staff to provide a formal response to the Northumberland County regarding a support in principle for option B, municipal restructuring study, to select one and two services to evaluate and develop an assessment of options for restructuring. Is there a mover and a seconder to this, please? Moved by Larry. Seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments? I have one. In some conversations, the word amalgamation has been used under this consideration. I feel quite strongly that the initial objective of this at the county was in fact to save money. And it has grown a little bit of life of its own. The intent was to look at servicing agreements, amalgamation of services. It was not to look at a full amalgamation of one municipality to the other. And I believe that needs to be clear in everyone's mind. I personally supported this motion when I was at the county for the purposes of conserving and saving money. And I'll quickly add county budget for 2025 is $235 million. If 1% to 10% of that budget was saved, it's huge dollars. And like I say, I want clarity for everyone to understand what the objective here was. I have no further comments. I'll simply turn back to my council members and say, do you have anything that you'd like to add? Bruce?
Well, I guess only that I echo your sentiment. We want to make sure that this is where the focus is. Is there something that we need to do to be sure to emphasize that this isn't about municipal restructuring, it's about restructuring of services? Do we need to have staff send something to say, we support this? We're not in favor of it? Amalgamation document.
Can we throw that towards our CAO for comment? Arthur, please.
Certainly through you, Mayor Jim. I think the recommendation to council through the report is to ensure that we support option B, looking at one or two services to evaluate and development and assessment of the options related to those services, but not a broader restructuring that was proposed in another portion of the report. So I think that was our intention, focusing on the services, make those improvements, capture some of the savings and improvements to our overall processes for the residents and proceed on that basis. And I think that will come through the recommendation or the resolution that we forward on behalf of council to the county.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Bruce. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Emergency Services, Fire Rescue Boat. Prepared motion that council receives report PS 2023-02 for Fire Rescue Boat for information. Am I correct in that 2023? Is that older report? Thank you. Correction. Report 2025-02. Fire rescue boat for information, the staff be authorized to proceed with sole source acquisition as outlined in section 6.81 of the procurement policy for the purchase of a Stanley aluminum fire rescue boat from Connor Industries, and further that $50,000 additional funding be approved for the capital purchase of the fire rescue boat to be funded from the development charges, $12,500, and fire equipment vehicle reserve of $37,500. Motion, please. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Questions or comments? Larry.
I think I'd just like to comment through you, Mr. Mayor, that this has been discussed many, many times in the past, with our fire service, that this is an essential service that we have to provide on the lake. And I'm glad to see that the fire services identified a proper boat to use this in the rescue and fire services on Rice Lake. In the past, even last year, there was one incident that happened at Golden Beach. It took the OPP quite a few hours to have a boat shipped from Belleville, shipped along the 401, and then be launched into Rice Lake to do any work on the recovery of the individual. I'm not suggesting that that's the purpose of this boat, but there are times on the lake as we get busier with, these sea-doos and stuff like that, that we do have the service available to help rescue people on the lake. And this boat in the past, or the boat that we currently have, this, what do you call it, pontoon boat, it takes a good number of minutes to get out into the water, and then it's a slow boat. So seeing this boat to be able to get us up and running very quickly, I'm very pleased to see this taking place. And I fully support this at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Any other comments? I do have a question, if I could, Mr. Robinson. And it's primarily for those who would be viewing this on tape. The words that I would like you to expand on and give us a little history on is that 50,000 additional funding be approved. Could you just expand on that so that anyone listening or seeing our minutes later on could understand that, please?
So going into 25 budget deliberation, we had numbers from 2024. That was the 125 original that we asked. We did attend and do more research onto a vessel that would be best suited. So that'll be a combination of a couple additional items that we added, as well as the increase that we're seeing in production costs. Right now, the proposed boat that we're looking at is 160-ish thousand. Did not want to come back to council for more money a second time. So there's stickering that still has to go above that to label it as ours, as well as some radio communications piece. So the 175 would be more than adequate. So the ask for the additional 50 is there, and reflected also with the same percentage of DC charges. And those DC charges come from some of what Deputy Mayor Williamson spoke to in the additional abilities of this boat. And if you look clearly at the spec, this boat is going to have an onboard fire pump that's there, both for fire suppression on the water, on the islands, and as we continue to change use on our waterfront, I can foresee this boat being used for some of our hard to reach areas, both for suppression as also as a water supply. So we'd be able to pull up in some of those hard access places and actually provide a water supply for us as we have the trouble accessing some of our 2-season traditional areas that are now 4-season.
Thank you. And could you just provide an update comment on exclusive ownership and what may the usage of it be in other municipalities?
So at this time, we're certainly exploring those partnerships. I have been speaking with the fire chief and A&H at this time. They will be not moving forward in 2025 with the purchase. So through our fees and charges and ENR bylaw, we'll look at a clawback for times when we're using that. And then the last piece that we discussed at budget deliberation was to also have further conversation throughout the lake. So I can speak specific to what we've done for Northumberland County, and I will further have discussions with Peterborough County if there's any interest. And we would do that through a fees and charges, user fee system, as well as we committed this year. Albeit this is a 4 to 6 month delivery, so we're not going to see this particular boat on the water much before mid to end of the season. But that we would look at fees for service similar to we do for MTO, both on the 401 and to emergency responses on the roadways. So you're looking at a similar, more for the nuisance type calls that are out there that we respond to.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, we do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. We're on to 17, communications. Motion reads, as recommended, the corporation and the township of Hamilton enacts as follows, that agenda item 17.2 to 17.6 on the March 18th, 2025 council meeting agenda be received. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor? Carried. Is there anything in that group that anyone would like pulled for discussion? Seeing none. Where were we? 17.2 to 17.6. Okay. Bylaws, procurement policy bylaw under section 18.1. Motion reads that bylaw 2025-14 being a bylaw to adopt a procurement policy and repeal the policy adopted by resolution 2019-24 be given first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 18th day of March 2025. Mover and a seconder, moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 18.2. Prepared motion that bylaw 2025-16 being a bylaw to reappoint John Muscarin, partner of Airden Burles, and repeal bylaw 2019-52 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 18th day of March 2025. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Bruce, seconded by Larry. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving down to closeout 24.1. Confirmatory bylaw. That bylaw 2025-17 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of the council meeting held on 18th day of March 2025 and to authorize its execution be given first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 18th day of March. Mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Might have a little hiccup here. Our person that we depend on goes out as away sick. 25.1. Motion reads, as recommended, the Council of Corporation Township of Hamilton acts as follows, that the council meeting held on March 18th, 2025 be adjourned at 2:09 p.m. Mover, please. Bruce. Seconder, Larry. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we'll just wait for a moment.